Joining me right now is former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Speaker, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you.
Wow, Mitt Romney. Newt, I mean, Romney was so aggressive against Trump during the campaign. He called him a phony. He called him a fraud. Now the president-elect is considering Romney for Secretary of State. Is that true?
Well, it could be true. Look, if Romney wants to be Donald J. Trump's Secretary of State, he'd be a very effective one. He's a great manager. He has enormous energy. He's a very smart guy. On the other hand, I think he'd have to, one, agree he's going to implement Trump's policies, and two, agree that he'll overhaul the State Department because it is currently totally non-functional. And I think that those would be big challenges. But if Romney would do that, he would be a very smart, very aggressive Secretary of State, and I can't imagine anybody who could do a better job potentially of overhauling the Foreign Service and overhauling the State Department, because he's got the background as the kind of guy who turns around companies, reorganizes them, and sets them on a different path.
So I guess supporters who are upset because of the way Romney spoke about Trump will just get over it. I will say this. Romney got the Russia thing right on. He was absolutely right about Vladimir Putin, right? And he said that when he was running for president. I
think if any of Trump's supporters have a right to be irritated with Romney, I almost use a stronger word, it would be me. I mean, we had a very, very rough and tumble campaign in 2012, and I have very strong feelings about it. But I also have very strong feelings about the new president, his job, and great trust in his judgment. He's looking at a lot of smart people, and I'm prepared to say that I'm going to support President-elect Trump's choices, and I think he's also a good enough manager that if he ultimately decides on Romney, it'll be because he and Romney have a clear understanding that he's the president, Romney's the Secretary of State, and that Romney will be implementing the president's policies. If that's the case, then I'm all for Mitt Romney.
Mr. Speaker, it's Dagan McDowell. How much are you consulting Donald Trump on all these picks? How much are you talking to him?
Not much. I have great faith in the president-elect. We've known each other a long time. On occasions, I talk to him about very specific things. Callista and I will be up visiting with him this afternoon. But he's got extraordinarily good judgment. And this is a zone where he's thought about it a lot for the last 2 years. He's got to interact with a lot of different people, get a feel for what their thinking is, and then intuitively, and it's always intuition, intuitively he's got to decide who are the people who can make up the Trump team in order to be effective. My only real advice to him was to channel Lincoln, both in bringing the country together, because Lincoln's use of language was central to how we survived the Civil War, and I think in building a strong team. And I think in that sense you've seen him reach out to remarkable people. General Mattis, for example, is one of the greatest combat generals in modern times. It would be extraordinary to have him back in government.
Mr. Speaker, Jack Otter here from Barron's. You mentioned Lincoln. Of course, you think of team of rivals. And it appears that we might be on a track to have people with different points of view coming into this administration. I assume, given your reference, you think that's a good thing. But how will that work in practice? Can people of differing views present them both to Trump and he'll make the right decision?
Well, look, what happened with Lincoln was the team of rivals began to realize that Lincoln really was the president. It took him about 6 months because Lincoln was actually a much smaller figure when he first became president than Donald Trump is. I mean, Lincoln was this one-time congressman. People really wondered how he'd gotten to the nomination. They were surprised he won the presidency. So he had much more proving to do. You know, Trump has already proven he could beat 15 other Republicans for the nomination and then beat Hillary Clinton for the presidency, in addition to having proven he can create a worldwide $10 billion company. So I think Trump is in many ways a bigger figure starting his administration than Abraham Lincoln was. The question for all of these guys and girls is going to be, are you prepared to work for President Trump? If you are, he's going to run a very aggressive team. I think he is deeply committed to draining the swamp. He's deeply committed to changing policies to make America great again. I don't think that's just a slogan. He has a vision in his mind of a hardworking, prosperous America that's also very safe. His first choices, I thought, very tellingly, were in national security. Yeah. And they're all very seasoned people. The people he's interviewing right now are very seasoned people. This will not be a collection of amateurs.
It's Katie Gutenberg. Good to see you, Newt. If it's not Mitt Romney, I have been in Germany last week, and the only sentence I've heard again and again was, please anybody but Rudy. And the second sentence I've heard, please anybody but Bolton. So what would be a choice that would come close to your mind, having the diplomatic skills, the experience, all the things you need for that position?
Well, first of all, I mean, I don't think you need all that diplomatic stuff. Look, we've had lots of secretaries of state like John Kerry and Hillary Clinton who wander around the planet, go to five-star hotels, eat at gourmet restaurants, have nice dinners with foreign ministers, tell each other how much they love each other, get up and hold a press conference, and it all means nothing. It's baloney. What we need is an American Secretary of State who represents America. And if that makes the Europeans uncomfortable, well, maybe they should be. I think the fact is it would be good to have somebody who every morning gets up and says, I'm going to do what I can for American jobs, for American security, for the American people. Now let's talk. And I think folks, and particularly in Europe, are very used to the idea that they ought to get somebody who basically is going to smooth them, be nice to them, and have contempt for the American people, which I think both Kerry and Clinton do. So this will be a great shock to them to actually have somebody who's pro-American, willing to fight for American policies, and willing to be pretty tough about it. I don't know why they would be bothered by Rudy. Rudy's a very smart guy. He knows the world pretty darn well. He has been all over it, has done business in much of it. I understand security very, very well. But he would be a really tough negotiator for the United States. I happen to think that's a good thing.
How tough will these confirmation hearings be, Mr. Speaker? I mean, do you think, for example, Jeff Sessions gets through? And what about Rudy Giuliani?
Oh, I think they'd get through. I think it's very hard to turn down legitimate choices of a new president. But I do think that Senator Schumer, who's extraordinarily smart, signaled yesterday on Fox News with Chris Wallace that he is going to be very partisan. He's going to push very hard. If he can embarrass Jeff Sessions, he will. But remember, most of the attacks on Jeff Sessions are just plain lies. Jeff Sessions, as a U.S. attorney, prosecuted the head of the Ku Klux Klan for murder, got a conviction. He got the death penalty. Jeff Sessions got an $8 million judgment against the Alabama Klan and bankrupted them. I mean, anybody who suggests that Sessions is in any way less than a totally committed law and order American who wants to protect every American is just plain lying. And the Democrats relied on smears and innuendo and lies in order to attack him in the 80s. I don't think that's going to work today. I think Jeff Sessions clearly is somebody who will make a great attorney general, and it'll be a great shock to have somebody who believes in the rule of law rather than the rule of cronies.
All right, we will leave it there. Mr. Speaker, great to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
By the way, you said no to a position, right? You don't want to be in the administration?
I'm going to go up and talk with President Trump today, but I really want to be a senior planner. We have 4,100 state legislators, 34 governors, a majority in the Senate, a majority in the House. We have a great opportunity over the next 8 years to really stabilize the country on Republican principles and Republican values. I think that's my highest value, is to try to think that through and help that happen.
All right, we'll be watching the developments. Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.